Late night drive. The empty road. A tired man pulls over to rest, unaware that something has been waiting for him between the trees. It watches. It scratches. It whispers in dreams. By the time he realizes it isn't an animal, it's too late. If you love supernatural horror stories told in the dark, hit subscribe, and whatever you do, never stop for the night on Highway 41. I always thought the road home was supposed to feel safe, familiar, but that night, somewhere along Highway 41, it felt like driving through the edge of a nightmare, one that didn't want me to wake up. It was late, close to 11. I'd just left my family reunion, the kind where the laughter never feels quite real because everyone's pretending the past never happened. You smile, you hug, you promise to visit, then you drive away with the radio low, trying to convince yourself that home still means something. The sky was dark enough to swallow whole towns. A thin fog pressed against the road like wet breath on glass. Trees lined both sides, tall, brittle things that creaked when the wind cut through them. Their silhouettes leaned in toward the road, their branches reaching like fingers, long and black against the half-moon. I was about an hour from home. My eyelids felt heavy, the kind of weight that isn't just tiredness, but something deeper, quieter. The kind that hums under your skin like a warning. The car clock glowed 11:22 p.m. The only sound was the rhythmic hum of the tires over the cracked asphalt. Then, as if my mind was playing tricks on me, I thought I saw something move between the trees, a flicker of white, gone before my eyes could focus. I shook my head, blinked, told myself it was nothing. It's never something at first, is it? The radio began to fade into static, that soft hiss that sounds almost like whispering if you listen too long. I turned the knob, but every station was the same, a hollow rush of white noise. My phone had no signal either. It was around that time the tiredness hit me like a wave. Not gradual. Sudden. Like my body had just shut off. My vision blurred at the edges. My head nodded once, twice. I knew I couldn't make it the rest of the way. So I started looking for somewhere, anywhere, to pull over. But there was nothing. No gas stations, no houses, not even a dirt road that looked safe. Just the endless walls of trees. That's when I saw it. A narrow shoulder on the right, just wide enough to fit my car. The grass was high, wet, and thick, and the forest pressed right up against the edge. I hesitated, hands still on the wheel. The sensible part of me whispered, "Don't stop." But exhaustion doesn't listen to reason. I eased the car off the road, the tires crunching against the gravel and weeds. I parked behind a cluster of bushes, hidden from the occasional passing headlights. I remember thinking, if I'm out of sight, I'm safe. The clock still read 11:22 p.m. I locked the doors, tilted my seat back, and closed my eyes. Sleep came fast, that heavy, dreamless kind that feels like falling underwater. But something woke me. A faint sound, thin and deliberate. Like the scrape of metal against metal. Scratch. Pause. Scratch. I blinked awake. The clock now said 11:50. I sat up, heart pounding. Nothing moved outside. The trees swayed slightly in the wind. Probably an animal, I whispered to myself. The sound had already stopped. My brain felt foggy, sluggish. I wasn't scared, not yet. Just irritated, like something had interrupted a dream. I reclined again, closed my eyes, and let the fatigue drag me back under. When I woke the second time, it wasn't the sound that hit me first. It was the feeling, cold, wrong, like the air in the car had gone still. Then the scratching started again, louder this time. Scratch, 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 right against the driver's side door. I held my breath. My pulse thudded in my ears. It didn't stop. For a few seconds, I just sat there, frozen, trying to convince myself it was wind or branches. But I'd parked too far from the trees for that. And the sound, it wasn't random. It was rhythmic. My fingers hovered over the lock button even though I'd already locked the doors. The thought of rolling down the window to look made my stomach twist. Finally, I forced myself to glance into the rearview mirror. Something moved. A blur of pale motion darting between the trees, vanishing before I could focus. Then silence. I sat there, staring at my own reflection in the mirror, chest rising and falling too fast. Maybe it was just an animal. Maybe I was dreaming. But even then, something in me knew I wasn't alone out there. I checked the time again. 12:40 a.m. Almost an hour since the first sound. That meant, whatever it was, it had come back. I gripped the steering wheel, forcing myself to breathe slow. My eyes drifted to the darkness beyond the windshield. The fog had thickened. The trees were gone behind it, just shapes now, shadows on shadows. Something told me to leave, not think, just go. So I did. I turned the key, the engine growled to life, and the headlights sliced through the mist like knives. The second I pulled onto the road, I caught movement again in the corner of my eye, something stepping back into the tree line, retreating, and as I accelerated away, I couldn't shake the feeling that whatever had been outside wasn't just watching me. It was following me. The tires hummed against the asphalt, steady, almost soothing, but the longer I drove, the more that sound began to blend with something else, a low, vibrating pulse that seemed to come from the forest itself. Every few seconds, I'd glance at the rearview mirror. Each time, the same thing, nothing. Just fog swallowing the road behind me. Still, the sense of being watched didn't fade. If anything, it deepened, like the night was leaning in closer with every mile. The clock glowed. 12:46 a.m. 40 minutes until 1. The road bent and unbent, narrow and coiled, lined with trees that all looked the same. I didn't pass another car. Not one. I told myself to keep driving, to stay focused on the lines. But exhaustion was pulling at me again. Not the normal kind this time. Heavier, duller. Like the air inside the car had thickened, making every breath slow. My headlights caught something up ahead, a road sign half hidden by overgrown weeds. The reflective letters flickered for a moment. I only caught the first word, caution. Then something moved. It was quick, a flash of gray darting across the road. I slammed the brakes, the tires screeching. The car lurched forward, seatbelt biting into my shoulder. For a heartbeat, there was only silence. Then I saw it, standing just beyond the reach of the headlights. At first, I thought it was a person. Too tall to be an animal, too thin to be real. It stood with one shoulder tilted, its head at an angle, like it was listening. I blinked, and it was gone. Just the fog again. I didn't wait to see more. The engine roared, and I pressed harder on the gas, hands trembling on the wheel. But a few hundred yards ahead, the road curved sharply to the right, the kind of bend that forces you to slow down whether you want to or not. And just before I hit the curve, there it was. A car, parked on the shoulder. Driver's side door wide open. I slowed to a crawl, instinct telling me to just keep going, but curiosity, that small, dangerous part of human nature, made me look. The car was old, rusted silver. One of those models from the early 2000s that always look like they're frowning. The headlights were off, but the dome light glowed faintly inside, showing the driver's seat empty. The door swayed slightly, creaking. There was movement in the passenger seat, a small flicker. Like something shifting in the shadows. My mouth went dry. I rolled forward another few feet, eyes scanning for anyone nearby. Nothing. I thought about stopping. Maybe someone needed help. Maybe they'd broken down, but then I saw it, something wet dripping from the open door. It hit the pavement with a soft pat, pat. Pat.it wasn't oil.it was dark red. That was all I needed to see. I hit the gas and didn't look back. The speedometer climbed 50, 60, 70. My hands were slick on the wheel. The fog whipped by like smoke. Then a voice. I swear I heard it. A man's voice, distant, echoing from somewhere behind me. Hey, you, stop the car. I glanced at the rearview mirror and my blood went cold. There was someone running after me. At first, he was just a silhouette in the mist. Then the shape sharpened, a man, sprinting full speed down the middle of the road, arms pumping, his mouth open as he screamed, "Get out. Get the fuck out of your car." I pressed harder on the gas, but my car felt sluggish, like something was pulling at it. He was fast. Too fast. His legs moved wrong, not fluid, but jerky, like he was being yanked forward by invisible strings. His face was pale, stretched into something between anger and desperation. Then the fog swallowed him. Gone. My heart hammered so hard it hurt. I wanted to pull over to breathe, but I couldn't stop. Not after that. I drove until I saw headlights, two bright dots in the distance. Relief hit like a wave. Another car. Finally, but as I got closer, I realized the lights weren't moving. The car was parked, facing my direction, and between the beams stood a figure. It wasn't the same man. This one was still waiting. I swerved into the opposite lane, flew past it, eyes locked forward until my vision blurred. By the time I finally saw a gas station, it felt like I'd been driving for hours. The neon sign flickered open in a dying orange glow. I pulled in fast, nearly clipping the curb, and stumbled out of the car. The air smelled of gasoline and old rain. My legs felt weak. My mind replayed the same question over and over. What the hell was that? Inside, the cashier looked up from a magazine, unfazed. Long night. He asked. I nodded, unable to speak. Behind me, through the glass, my car sat under the harsh fluorescent lights. Empty, quiet, harmless. But then, just before I turned away, I thought I saw it again. A faint handprint on the back window. Fresh, and for the rest of the night, I couldn't shake the feeling that whatever had been scratching my car out there in the dark had finally found a way inside. The fluorescent lights inside the gas station buzzed with a low, insect hum. It wasn't the cozy kind of light. It was the kind that made everything look too sharp, too real. My reflection in the glass door looked drained, eyes wide, shirt collar damp with sweat. The cashier was a man in his late 40s, heavy set, with a faded cap pulled low and a cigarette that burned endlessly in the ashtray beside him. He looked at me, squinted, and gave that half smile people give when they're trying to decide if you're trouble or just tired. Long night. He asked again, same tone as before, like he already knew the answer. I nodded. Yeah. I think someone tried to. I don't know. Follow me. He didn't laugh. Didn't even look surprised. He just tapped Dash into the tray and said, "You came from 41?" I froze. The highway didn't have many names, just numbers, and that was the one I'd been driving on. Yeah, I said slowly. About an hour north. He nodded again, like that confirmed something. Then it ain't your fault. It's that road. The words didn't make sense at first. That road. He leaned back, chair creaking under him, and pointed to the old security monitor behind the counter. Grainy black and white footage flickered across the screen, 4 cameras, one showing the parking lot, one the pumps, one the narrow road beyond the sign. The feed was lagging just a little. Half a second off, enough to make every movement feel wrong. "I've been here 22 years, he said. "Seen maybe a dozen people come through after midnight from that stretch. All of 'em looked like you do right now." "Like what?" He didn't answer, just stared for a beat, then said quietly, "You said someone followed you?" I hesitated. "Yeah, scratching on my car. Then a man on the road, running after me." His eyes narrowed. "You ever stop?" "Before he showed up." My stomach twisted. Yeah. I pulled over, just to sleep for a bit. That's when his tone changed. Not angry, worried. He sat forward, elbows on the counter. "You shouldn't have done that." The way he said it made my skin crawl. Why not? "Because once you stop, they think you've invited them." I laughed nervously, waiting for a smirk that never came. He didn't blink. "Didn't break eye contact? You're serious?" He nodded. "You ever hear of the Mirror Road?" I shook my head. He leaned closer, voice dropping to almost a whisper. "Locals call it that because it doesn't just show you things. It mirrors you, your fear, your exhaustion, your guilt. Whatever you bring onto that road, it gives back to you. Except worse." The hum of the lights deepened. My ears rang faintly. "Back in '96, he continued, "a woman fell asleep right where you said you did. Same time, same season. Truck driver found her car the next morning. Door open, headlights still on, keys in the ignition, but no sign of her." I swallowed hard. "What happened to her?" He shrugged. "No one ever found her. But sometimes, people still hear her voice out there, calling for help." For a long second, neither of us spoke. The rain outside had started again, light, steady, tapping against the glass like fingertips. Finally, I exhaled. "That's just stories, right? Urban legends." He smiled, but it wasn't comforting. "You tell yourself whatever you need to." I looked back at the monitors. The one showing my car made my pulse skip because there was something standing beside it. A shadow. Tall. Still. My first thought was that it was a trick of the light. But then it moved, just slightly, like it turned its head toward the camera. "Someone's out there," I said. My voice came out thin, almost childlike. He didn't look. Didn't even turn around. "They won't come inside," he said. "Not unless you ask." "What does that even mean?" I whispered. He took a long drag from his cigarette, blew the smoke toward the ceiling. "Just don't go back out there yet." I stood frozen for a moment. The hum of the refrigerator behind me, the flicker of the neon sign, the steady rhythm of rain, everything felt too loud. I took a slow step toward the window, trying to see through the glare. The car sat under the awning. Empty. Perfectly normal. No one there. But as I stared, lightning cracked somewhere distant, and for a split second, I saw it again. A figure, reflected in the car's glossy surface. Standing right beside me, inside the glass. When the light faded, the reflection was gone. The attendant spoke without looking up. "If you're smart," he said, "you'll wait till dawn. Whatever follows you on that road doesn't like the sunrise." I wanted to believe him, but part of me still clung to reason. Fatigue, paranoia, tricks of the eye. I told myself I was just overtired, but then the security monitor flickered again, and this time, the door to the gas station opened slowly, on its own. The bell above it never rang, and for the first time that night, the attendant looked afraid. The bell never rang. That was the first thing I noticed. The gas station door stood half open, swaying gently as if someone had just walked through it, but the small brass bell above it, the one that had chimed loudly when I entered, hung still. The attendant finally moved. He reached under the counter, hand trembling, and pulled out an old flashlight. The beam flicked on weakly, cutting through the air like a pale knife. "You stay here," he said quietly. I didn't argue. He stepped from behind the counter, the rubber soles of his boots squeaking softly on the tile. The light trembled across the floor, over the candy racks, the dusty soda fridge. Nothing, but the air felt occupied. It was that strange heaviness you feel when someone's behind you, except it came from everywhere at once. The attendant glanced back. "Lock the door," he said. I moved toward it, hesitated. The moment my hand touched the cold metal handle, the fluorescent lights flickered once, twice, and then half of them died at once. The left side of the store went black. In the darkness, something shuffled. The sound was dry, like bare feet sliding across concrete. The man raised the flashlight, but the beam stuttered, then dimmed. He shook it. "Nothing. Damn batteries," he muttered. That's when I heard it, faint, but unmistakable. The scratching. It came from outside, from the direction of my car. That same slow, deliberate scrape against metal. He turned to me sharply. "Don't move." He hurried to the counter, switched the camera feed to full screen. The outside camera flickered to life, grainy black and white footage of the parking lot, rain still falling in silvery streaks, and there it was. My car, and behind it, something crouched. First, it looked like a person. A man, maybe, with his head bowed low. But then it moved in a way no person should. Its limbs were too long, knees bent the wrong way. It unfolded from the ground like a shadow peeling off the asphalt. Its face, or what I thought was its face, tilted up toward the camera. There was no light, no eyes, no features. Just the faint impression of a mouth, and the sound came through the speakers, soft but steady. Scratch, pause, scratch. The attendant's hand hovered near the screen. "Don't look outside," he whispered. I turned anyway, through the glass window. Beyond the halo of flickering light, the shape was there, darker than the rain, motionless, waiting. It wasn't looking at the station. It was looking into it, right where I was standing. Is that what you meant?" I asked, my voice cracking. "That's what follows people?" He nodded slowly. "It doesn't follow everyone," he said. "Just the ones who stop." My heartbeat filled my ears. "Why me?" He didn't answer. The scratching stopped. The thing stood up fully, impossibly tall, then began walking toward the door. Its steps didn't make sound. The puddles didn't ripple. It was like the world refused to notice it. The attendant turned the monitor off, as if cutting the feed could undo what we'd seen. "Get behind the counter," he said. "Now." I did. My legs barely obeyed, but I crouched beside him, breathing hard. He reached for a small radio, the kind truckers use, and spoke into it. "John, you still out on 41? Got movement at the Texaco again." Static answered him. Then a voice, faint and hollow. "Copy that, Mark. I see the lights from here. You inside?" "Yeah," the attendant said. "We're not alone." Silence. Then the voice again, quieter, strained. "Mark, if you're inside, who just walked past my truck?" The line went dead. Something heavy hit the roof. Once, dust fell from the ceiling tiles. I clamped a hand over my mouth. The attendant looked up slowly, flashlight beam trembling as it searched the shadows above us. A long dragging sound crossed the ceiling, like fingertips pulling along the metal. Then quiet. We waited. 1 minute. Then 2. Nothing. The attendant lowered the light, exhaled shakily. Maybe it's gone, he said. That was when the power came back on. Every fluorescent tube blazed to life. The sudden brightness was blinding, and in that split second of light, just before my eyes could adjust, I saw it dot a reflection dot on the glass door, not behind me, inside. The shadow stood inches away, taller than the frame, shape bending wrong in the light. When I blinked, it was gone. The attendant backed away, whispering to himself, "It never leaves once it's seen you." "What?" I gasped. "What are you talking about?" He looked at me pale, sweating, terrified. "It doesn't want the road. It wants the driver." He started for the back room, fumbling for keys. "We need to hide." Then came the sound again, not from outside this time, from underneath the floor. Scratch, pause, scratch, and before I could say anything, the tiles near the counter began to bulge upward. Something was pushing its way in. The floor wasn't supposed to move like that. It rose in a slow, circular bulge, just enough to crack the tile grout, sending fine white dust into the air. The scratching turned into a wet, dragging sound. "Back up," the attendant whispered. He grabbed a wrench from under the counter, hands trembling. I stumbled back, my shoes slipping on the polished floor. The air felt thick, warm, humid, like something breathing just beneath the surface. Then came a low groan. It wasn't mechanical. It wasn't wind. It was alive. A dark crack split the tile open, stretching from the register to the cooler in the back. The fluorescent lights above flickered again, pulsing in rhythm with the sound. Has this happened before?" I asked. The man nodded once, not for a long time. I thought the road was quiet again. The tiles broke fully, snapping upward as a burst of cold air hit us. It smelled like rust and something old, something wet. Beneath the broken floor was a narrow crawl space. Just dirt, pipes, and darkness, and movement. The flashlight beam found it, a pale, emaciated arm reaching up through the soil. Long fingers clawed at the edges of the tiles, curling like roots trying to break the surface. I screamed. "Don't let it grab you," he yelled. The arm shot up faster than it should have been able to move. The fingers brushed against my leg, cold and dry, like sandpaper. I jumped back, hitting the shelves behind me. Cans clattered to the floor. The attendant swung the wrench hard, slamming it down on the reaching arm. It cracked like wood. A sound half human, half static, echoed up from below. "Go to the back room," he shouted. I ran. The door to the storage area was half open, the air behind it cooler. I pushed through, heart hammering in my chest. The smell of gasoline, old cardboard, and motor oil filled the narrow hallway. Behind me, the sound of metal scraping filled the air. The thing was dragging itself out. He slammed the door shut, threw a latch across it. Something heavy hit the other side immediately. Is it trying to get in?" I whispered. He leaned against the door, wrench still in hand. "It doesn't need to try," he said quietly. "It already knows how." The pounding stopped. Silence. Then, faintly, from inside the walls, the scratching again. Moving. Circling. He turned toward the back corner of the room where a trapdoor sat beneath a stack of oil drums. He pushed them aside, revealing a metal hatch bolted to the floor. "Where does that go?" I asked. "Storm drain," he said. "It leads to the ditch behind the highway. It's the only way out if it breaks through." The door shuddered again, once, twice, then splintered. He looked at me. "When it comes in, don't look at its face. Just crawl. Don't stop." The lights flickered one last time, then died. In total darkness, I could hear it, the sound of something slithering along the floor. The tiles creaked under its weight. A dry breath filled the room. Close, too close. He fumbled with the hatch, unbolting it as fast as he could. The metal squealed. Then the door burst open. Light from the front of the station poured in, flickering, uneven, revealing a shape that filled the doorway. It was tall, but wrong. Its shoulders bent outward, as if bones had been rearranged. Its skin looked stretched too thin, like something wearing a body that didn't fit. It didn't move at first. Just stood there, its head tilted slightly. "Don't look," he said again. But curiosity is stronger than fear. I glanced. Just for a moment, its face wasn't a face at all. It was a blur, like a bad photograph that wouldn't stay in focus. Features came and went, eyes, a mouth, then nothing. And underneath, faint shapes pressed against the inside of its skin, as if others were trapped beneath it. The attendant raised the wrench again and swung. But the thing caught it midair. It didn't hit him. It just held him, and every light in the room went red for a single heartbeat. He screamed, not in pain, but in memory. Like the sound of a person reliving every horrible thing at once. Then it dropped him. He hit the floor hard, motionless. I lunged for the hatch, pulled it open, and climbed down into the black water below. The smell was unbearable. Like rotting leaves and copper. I crawled through the narrow concrete tunnel, the flashlight barely working, flickering with every heartbeat. Behind me, I heard it drop into the tunnel too, the echo of its limbs splashing in the water. Closer. I crawled faster. The tunnel curved right, leading toward a grate that opened to the roadside ditch. I pushed against it, but it wouldn't budge. Rust held it tight. Behind me, scratching. I turned, gasping. The tunnel was empty, but the water rippled, as if something just sank beneath the surface. Then a whisper, right by my ear, not from behind me. From inside my head, "You stopped on our road." The grate suddenly gave way, bursting open under my hands. I crawled out into the rain, gasping for air. When I turned back, the tunnel was empty. No shadow. No sound, just the faint smell of rust and gasoline drifting out. I stumbled to the ditch, coughing, watching the gas station lights flicker in the distance, then die completely. The road was empty again, but in the reflection of the puddle at my feet, I saw headlights, yellow. When I came to, it was daylight. Pale, washed-out morning light filtered through the trees, blinding at first. My body ached as though I'd run a marathon, my clothes soaked, my palms scraped raw. The ditch water was cold now still. The highway stretched silent before me. No cars. No sound. Only wind, brushing through the long grass like whispers too faint to understand. For a long time, I couldn't move. I kept staring at the gas station in the distance, or what was left of it. Half of the building had collapsed inward. The roof caved through the middle, black smoke still rising from the wreck. I could see melted lights, twisted metal, but no sign of the man inside. Just gone. I forced myself up, legs trembling. My mind felt foggy, like a dream that hadn't finished forming yet. The memory of the thing, that shifting face, burned in flashes every time I blinked. But the strangest part, no one was there. No police tape. No traffic, just me. Then, faintly, a sound from far down the highway. An engine. It grew louder, slow, steady. Relief hit me like a wave. I stumbled toward the road, waving my arms. A truck appeared around the bend. Old, maybe late 90s model. The paint was sun-bleached and dented. Yellow. At first, I thought my eyes were playing tricks on me. The headlights flickered through the fog. It slowed as it neared. The window rolled down. A man leaned out, mid-40s, friendly face, clean shave, baseball cap. "You all right, miss?" he asked, voice low and concerned. I froze. My throat felt dry. Behind him, in the passenger seat, was a woman. Her hair perfectly brushed, her face pale and calm, too calm. Her hands were folded neatly in her lap, nails painted the same soft pink as the lipstick she wore, and she smiled at me, the same smile I'd seen once before at Walmart, 2 towns away. The woman who kept following me down the aisles. No, that wasn't possible. That was a different story, a different night. The man stepped out of the truck, leaving the door wide open. "You look hurt. Come on, we'll get you to a hospital." The sound of his boots crunching on the gravel made my stomach twist. I'm fine," I stammered. "I just need to call someone." He nodded slowly, almost sympathetically. "There's no service out here." Then he looked at the gas station ruins behind me. "You should be stopped. Not on this road." The woman's voice drifted out from the truck, soft, melodic. "Let him help you, sweetheart." Her tone was gentle, but it hit like a needle. My body didn't want to move toward her, but something inside me, something deeper, felt pulled. He reached for me, not fast, but steady. I stumbled backward, nearly falling. The look on his face didn't change. Not anger, not surprise, just patience, like he'd done this before. I turned and ran. The ditch gave way to a steep incline, the mud slick under my boots. My lungs screamed for air as I tore through the tree line, branches snapping across my arms. Behind me, the truck door slammed shut. The engine revved once, then silence. When I looked back, the truck wasn't on the road anymore. It was in the woods, headlights off, moving impossibly smooth between the trees. I didn't think trucks could move like that. I kept running. The forest thickened, the air heavier. Every direction looked the same. My phone had no signal. Every step felt slower than the last, like the air itself wanted to hold me there. Then I heard it, that same scratching sound from the gas station floor, not behind me this time, below. The ground rippled again, leaves stirred without wind. I tripped, falling to my knees. When I looked up, I saw it, an old wooden cabin, maybe half a mile ahead, half buried in the trees. The door hung open, and the faint glow of a lantern flickered inside. I ran for it. The air inside smelled of dust, mold, and something faintly metallic. A cot sat in the corner. A single photo frame lay cracked on the floor. I picked it up, a family of 3 smiling in front of a yellow truck. The man, the woman, and a little girl. The girl's eyes had been scratched out of the photo. The floor creaked behind me. I turned, but no one was there, just a shape outside the window. A reflection of light against glass, 2 headlights glowing faintly from the tree line. Then, slowly, the woman's voice again. Not from outside, not from the road, from right behind me. "You stopped on our road too." Cold fingers brushed my shoulder. I turned. Swinging the lantern wildly, it shattered against the wall, spilling flame across the wood. The air ignited, the room filled with smoke. I stumbled out the door, choking. Behind me, the cabin went up in fire. Through the flames, 2 figures stood, the man and woman, holding hands, watching me. Their faces flickered, changing shape in the firelight, and for just a second, between the smoke and the embers, I saw the little girl too, standing between them, her eyes still blacked out. The fire should have burned through the forest, but it didn't. When I looked back from the hilltop, the cabin was still glowing, same flames, same walls, like the fire wasn't consuming anything at all. just burning endlessly. The road stretched ahead in two directions, both empty. The fog had rolled in thick again, turning the air milky. Every sound, my footsteps, my breath, seemed swallowed before it reached my ears. I kept walking. No signal. No cars. No people. The longer I walked, the quieter it got. Not peaceful quiet, vacuum quiet. Like sound itself didn't want to exist here. That's when I saw her. At first, I thought it was a trick of the fog, a dark spot in the haze, dead center of the road ahead. But as I got closer, the shape became clearer. Small. Still. Standing perfectly straight. A little girl. Barefoot. Hair tangled, white dress dirt-streaked and soaked at the hem. Her head was tilted slightly down, chin resting on her chest, and her hands were clasped in front of her like she was praying. I stopped about 20 feet away. "Hey," my voice cracked. "Are you okay?" She didn't move. Didn't even flinch. The only sound was the slow dripping of water from her hair. Then she lifted her head. Her eyes weren't just dark, they were holes. Empty, cavernous voids, swallowing what little light there was. And when she opened her mouth to speak, no words came, only the sound of scratching. That same scratching I'd heard against my car door. My throat went dry. I took a step back. She took one forward. I turned and ran. Branches whipped at my arms as I darted into the trees. The fog was thicker here, curling around the trunks like smoke. The forest floor squelched beneath my boots, mud giving way to roots. Every few seconds, I thought I heard her behind me, the faint slap of bare feet against the wet ground, the soft scrape of her breath. I didn't dare look back after what felt like hours. I stumbled into a clearing, a small stretch of road I didn't recognize. I leaned against my knees, trying to catch my breath. Then I froze, because there she was again, standing in the middle of the road ahead. Same distance as before. Same stillness. It was impossible. I turned and ran the other way, down a slope, through the underbrush, tearing through the dark until my lungs burned. And there she was again. And no matter where I went, she was always there, 20 feet away. Always facing me. Always still. The forest wasn't letting me leave. I sank to the ground, trembling, trying to understand. My car was gone. The road never seemed to end. And now, even my own heartbeat sounded like it wasn't coming from inside me anymore, but from the woods themselves. Then I heard it, a soft humming. A tune. Familiar. A lullaby. I lifted my head. The girl was closer now, maybe 5 feet away. Her lips were moving slightly, no words, just that haunting hum. And then, between one blink and the next, she wasn't a little girl anymore. She was me. Same face. Same clothes. Same blood smeared across my arm from the cut I'd gotten hours ago. Only her eyes were still black voids, and when she smiled, I felt something inside my chest shift, like air being pulled from my lungs. I tried to scream, but my voice didn't come out. She stepped forward, her movements unnatural, too fluid, like she wasn't walking but sliding. She leaned close, her breath cold against my ear. "You were supposed to stop," she whispered. "Not here. Not yet." Then she was gone. The fog cleared for just a moment, and I saw it, a shape at the end of the road. Not the truck this time. A house. Old, Victorian style, its roof sagging but lights still glowing faintly inside. A house that shouldn't be there. Every part of me screamed not to go, but where else could I go? The forest circled endlessly, and my phone had no service. So I walked, each step closer, the world around me dimmed. The fog thickened again, now golden at the edges, like the light was coming from beneath the ground. When I reached the porch, the door opened on its own, a slow, creaking invitation. Inside, it smelled like rain and rot. Dust motes drifted through slanted beams of light, and hanging on the wall in the foyer was a photo. The family again. The man, the woman, the little girl. Only this time, the little girl's face was mine. A sound came from upstairs. The slow, deliberate sound of footsteps, and then a man's voice. "You shouldn't have left the road." The voice came from above me, deep, calm, almost kind. The kind of voice that might have comforted you once, before you realized what it truly was. My first instinct was to run, but the door behind me had closed. I didn't remember hearing it slam. It was just shut. The air inside the house felt stale, thick like syrup. Every breath was work. Dust hung motionless, as if even the air had forgotten how to move. "Who's there?" I managed to whisper. The voice didn't answer, not right away. Instead, a single footstep echoed from the upstairs hallway. Then another, slow, heavy, patient. My flashlight beam trembled against the peeling wallpaper. Every framed picture along the staircase looked wrong, too vivid, as if their eyes followed the light wherever it went. And then I saw the photo again. The family portrait. The same one from the cabin. The same one from the dream. The same faces frozen in that half smile that never quite reached their eyes. But now there was something new. In the corner of the frame, barely visible beneath the glass, a reflection. A car.my.it was parked on that very same road outside. My pulse hammered. I backed away from the frame, knocking into a small table by the stairs. A lamp crashed to the floor, its bulb flickering once before dying completely. For a moment, I thought the darkness would consume me whole. Then, upstairs, a faint yellow light came on. "Don't be afraid," the voice said again. Closer now. The light flickered, like it was breathing. Something in me broke, that fragile thread holding fear and reason apart, and I climbed the stairs. Each step groaned beneath my weight. Each creak answered by silence, so deep it felt alive. At the top of the landing, the hallway stretched ahead like a throat. Doors on both sides, all closed, except one. The light came from a room at the far end. Its door stood slightly ajar. As I got closer, I realized the glow wasn't from a bulb. It was firelight. Inside, a fireplace burned with colorless flames, pale and cold. The air shimmered around it, and in that shimmer, faces, flickering in and out. The man, the woman, the little girl. The woman's face turned toward me first. Her smile was wrong again, too still, too wide. "We've been waiting for you," she said softly. The man stepped forward. His eyes gleamed wetly in the dim light. "You took the long road," he said. "But they all find it eventually." He gestured toward the window. I turned to look. Outside, where the fog had been, there was now a river, slow, black, winding through the forest, and floating down that river, half submerged, was the cabin, still burning, still whole. My had spun. "What do you want from me?" The man tilted his head slightly, like a teacher amused by a child's question. "To finish it," he said. "You stopped too soon. You always stop too soon." The little girl appeared then, standing by the hearth, watching me. Only this time, her eyes weren't empty. They were mine. She reached out her hand. "Come home," she whispered. The walls began to move, subtle at first, then violently. Wallpaper split, wood groaned. Pictures rattled in their frames. Something was coming through the walls. Hands. Dozens of them. Every hand was gray, soaked, trembling. Each one clawed toward me like they were reaching for warmth. I stumbled back, slamming into the hallway. The door behind me didn't close, it melted shut. I ran, room after room blurred by old furniture, cracked mirrors, dust thick as snow. Every reflection I passed showed something different. Sometimes me, sometimes the little girl, sometimes the road itself twisting endlessly behind me. The house wasn't a place anymore. It was a memory. A trap built from all the roads that ended wrong. At the bottom of the stairs, I found the front door again. This time it was open wide, swinging in the night wind. The fog outside had cleared completely. I stepped out. The air was still, the road empty, and then, faintly, I heard it, the scratching, not behind me, not around me, from beneath. The ground beneath my feet began to pulse, soft, rhythmic, like a heartbeat. I looked down and realized the road wasn't asphalt anymore. It was blackened skin, stretched, scarred, and still alive. The yellow truck's headlights flickered on in the distance. Slowly, it began to roll toward me. I turned to run, but the forest had changed again. The trees weren't trees, they were crosses, and every one of them had a figure tied to it, faces half burned, eyes wide open, mouths still whispering. I dropped to my knees, covering my ears. But the whispers weren't coming from outside. They were coming from inside my head, and through the noise, I heard the man's voice one last time. "You shouldn't have left the road," he said, "because it doesn't end. It only circles back." The headlights cut through nothing. No rain. No fog. Just a long strip of pale, endless road, vanishing into the dark. My knuckles were white on the steering wheel. The speedometer needle hovered at 60, then 70, but the world outside didn't change. The same stretch of pine trees, the same cracked yellow lines, the same silence. I didn't even remember starting the car. I just was here, moving. The radio had come back on by itself, static, soft and wet, like breathing behind a wall. I turned the knob, but the sound didn't stop, it shifted. The static began to pulse, forming a rhythm, a heartbeat, and beneath that, a whisper. "Keep driving." I tried to ignore it. My mind was unraveling anyway, exhaustion and fear feeding each other like twins. The road signs were wrong now. Every few miles, another appeared in the distance. The first one said, "Next rest stop, 10 miles. Then, half a minute later, another, "Next rest stop, 10 miles. Same sign, same distance, same dents and rust stains on the metal. By the third time, I slowed down. My hands were trembling. The forest pressed in close to the asphalt, suffocating the road, and somewhere behind the trees, something moved with me, same speed, same direction, always hidden just out of sight. When the static crackled again, it almost sounded like laughter. At 1:13 a.m., the road began to tilt downward, winding through a valley of black water. The moon reflected on its surface, but there was no moon above. I drove slower, headlights scraping across the rippling water. The yellow truck appeared ahead, parked sideways. Empty, its headlights flickered twice, then went out. I pulled over, leaving the engine running. My breath fogged the windshield. For a long moment, I didn't move, but then something inside the truck shifted. A silhouette, tall, bent at the shoulders, like a man who'd forgotten how to stand properly. He was facing away, head turned slightly toward the forest, and then, very slowly, he began to scratch the side of his own truck. Metal shrieked under his nails. Once, twice, over and over, The same rhythm I'd heard on my car door hours ago. My body wanted to flee, but my mind was caught frozen in the fascination of horror. The figure turned. His face was not a face anymore. Pale, rippled skin stretched over an empty skull. Where his mouth should have been, there was only a hollow, dark smile carved into the bone. He lifted one hand toward me and whispered something that didn't belong in any human throat. Every tree around me leaned closer, bending toward the road. Their branches cracked like knuckles. I floored the accelerator. The tires screamed. The forest blurred into streaks of gray and white. I didn't care where I was going. I just needed distance, even if the road ate itself behind me. But no matter how far I drove, I saw the same things. The same curve in the road, the same crooked sign, the same mile marker, and every time I passed that spot again, the yellow truck was there, sometimes facing forward, sometimes flipped, sometimes burning, its headlights glowing like eyes under the surface of the world. At some point, I realized I was no longer alone in the car. It was faint at first, just the feeling of weight shifting behind me. A seatbelt clicking. A breath. Then, in the mirror, I saw her, the little girl from the photograph, sitting quietly in the back seat. Her hair was wet, her head tilted slightly to the side, as if she were listening to something I couldn't hear. She met my eyes in the reflection and said softly, "You missed the turn." My throat locked. What turn? She didn't answer. Instead, she pointed toward the window. Outside, through the trees, I could see faint lights, warm, golden, flickering between the trunks. A house. The same house. But I had just left it. I looked back to the mirror, and she was gone. Only her handprints remained, small, perfect shapes on the inside of the glass, pressed from outside. The road began to narrow. The trees leaned so close their branches brushed against the roof, and beneath it all, the same scratching sound grew louder, only now, it wasn't from the outside of the car. It was from underneath. The tires hissed, and I smelled something burning, something alive. Ahead, a sign appeared, bent, rusted, barely legible under the beam of the headlights. Welcome to Highway 41. I had been driving on it the entire time. I slowed to a crawl, staring at the sign. My reflection in the windshield barely looked like me anymore, pale, hollow-eyed, fading into the dark. And in that reflection, just over my shoulder, the little girl stood again. Her mouth moved soundlessly. I rolled down the window to hear her. And the cold night whispered back with her voice soft, melodic, endless. "You never left." The engine coughed once and died. No warning. No sputtering. Just silence. I sat there, frozen, in the middle of the road. The headlights flickered once and dimmed, leaving the world outside half-lit in a dirty, ghost-colored glow. The clock on the dashboard blinked 3:03 a.m. exactly the same time as before, but that couldn't be right. I had been driving for hours. My hands were shaking. I tried the key again. The engine cranked, coughed, and failed. A third time, nothing. Then something moved beside me. It wasn't loud. Just a subtle shift in the air, a dip in the seat cushion, like someone had just climbed in quietly and was now sitting right there beside me. I didn't look. I couldn't. The smell hit me next, wet soil, rust, and the faint, sour scent of decayed leaves. It smelled like the forest floor after rain. It smelled like the earth that had been turned too many times. Keep driving. The voice came from just inches away, low and dry, as if the words had to scrape their way through a throat full of dirt. My breath caught. Every instinct screamed to move, but I sat perfectly still, eyes locked forward on the empty road. The car won't start. I whispered. The voice laughed softly, not cruelly, but like someone remembering an old joke that never got funny again. You already drove too far. I dared to turn my head. The passenger seat was empty. At least at first glance. Then, slowly, the outline began to appear, a faint shimmer of movement, like heat rising off asphalt, and in that distortion, a figure began to take shape. A man. Or what was left of one. Skin stretched too tight across the skull, eyes like pits filled with ash. He wore a soaked flannel shirt, torn open down the middle, and his hands were black to the wrists, dripping something that looked like oil. It was the man from the yellow truck, the one who had run at me, screaming. He smiled, a twitching, broken thing that didn't belong on a living face. Do you remember the turnoff? He asked. I couldn't speak. He reached over to the dashboard and pressed one finger against the clock. It reset point 11:22 p.m. This same time I'd fallen asleep. Been stuck there ever since, he whispered. Same road, same sound. We all end up stopping here, sooner or later. My vision swam. My heart hammered so hard it hurt. This isn't real, I said, forcing the words through my teeth. I left. I drove away. He leaned closer, the skin of his jaw splitting slightly with the movement. You never left the shoulder of the road. His words hit me like a cold slap. I looked out the window. The forest wasn't moving anymore. Every branch, every leaf was still, like a photograph burned into the air, and where the road should have stretched out ahead of me, there was nothing, just black water. Stretching forever. I turned back, and the passenger seat was empty again, but the rearview mirror showed something else, shapes, dozens of them, standing in the water behind my car, men, women, even children, all pale, motionless, watching. Their faces blurred, their bodies soaked. Some were missing pieces, hands, jaws, eyes. Others were whole, but hollow-eyed, like the life had been drained long ago, and among them was the little girl, her small hand pressed to the back glass, leaving that same perfect handprint I'd seen before. The scratching sound started again, this time. It wasn't coming from outside or below. It was inside the car, inside the metal. The sound vibrated through the doors, through the floor, through the air itself. It felt alive, something clawing, desperate, trying to get out. My breath fogged the glass. My chest hurt. I screamed, not words, just sound, and slammed my fists against the steering wheel. The horn blared once, and the world shattered. The headlights flickered back on, but the car was no longer on the highway. It was sitting on a grassy shoulder, the same one I had pulled onto earlier that night. The trees were calm again, the road empty, the stars back in the sky. I blinked, shaking, not believing any of it. My phone was in the passenger seat, no missed calls, no messages. It was 11:22 p.m. exactly. I looked around, disoriented, heart pounding. The air was clean now. No smell of rot, no sound of water. Just the hum of distant crickets. Had I dreamed it all? I reached for the ignition. The car started. Smooth, like nothing had ever been wrong. I laughed shakily, half in relief, half in disbelief. Maybe exhaustion had played tricks on me. Maybe I'd drifted off and hallucinated the whole thing. Then I looked into the mirror and froze. There, faint but clear in the fogged back window, were 3 handprints, point one small, point one large, and one that dragged downward, long fingers ending in deep, black scratches that ran all the way to the edge of the glass. The scratches spelled something. A single word. Stay. I didn't look back. I just drove, and as I passed the bend in the road, the one I remembered from before, I saw the yellow truck again, parked at the same angle, driver's door wide open, only this time the driver wasn't gone. He was sitting behind the wheel, watching me go by, and in his passenger seat, someone was moving, just enough to let me know they were there. That was 2 years ago. Sometimes, on quiet nights, I still hear the scratching. Sometimes, when I drive past a patch of forest, I swear I see headlights facing the wrong way, deep between the trees, and every time I look at a clock, it's 11:22.